evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Tonight we have Steve on. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, brother. Thanks for having me on. And hello to everybody out there on the worldwide intraweb. It's great to be with you.
It's good to see you, man. So we're gonna have a fun time. We'll ask some questions. So actually, we got some Eddie Van Halen gear behind you. You got some endorsements from Van Halen too,
Oh,
right?
always, man. I think I'm the longest running endorser of EVH products dating back to 1992 when I first, when Ed took me under the wings when he was with PV. And I started with the 5150 amps back then, and it's
Mm-hmm.
lasted, almost 30 years later, so, God bless Ed. Thanks for always taking care of me, you know.
He took care of a lot of people. He was a good guy, man. So many good stories are coming out now about him too. Everyone's got some amazing story behind him.
Oh, I got a lifetime of him, man. But, Ed, the greatest thing I could say about him, and I think you're seeing this more than ever, he was, without a doubt, one of the nicest, one of the funniest. The guy loved that. That's how really we bonded, was over jokes. We would tell each
Yeah,
other, drinking beer, smoking cigarettes, telling dirty jokes, and just laughing until we fell over, until we were crying. And I'm so thankful of all the incredible times I had with him. And
yeah,
he was a friend for close to 30 years, and kind of like a family member. And but I know he's looking down at heaven, from heaven right now, and he's so proud of Wolfgang. And that's the most
oh
important
yeah,
thing. No matter what, Ed loved Wolfgang more than anything in the world, and he set Wolfgang up for a great life. And Wolf is such a great kid, and so I'm just so thankful for that. And the music. The bottom line is Ed is always going to be with us till the
yeah,
end of time. The greatest, the king of rock guitar, and but most importantly, just a great guy.
yeah. I actually felt bad when he died more for his son. I mean, obviously, I grew up with him. Everybody else loving Van Halen,
Yeah.
and he was like my first band, my guitar person. And but yeah, when it happened, parent, I'm like, I just felt bad because it was apparent how great they got along. I was like, oh, that's the worst right there. That's
Yeah.
what bothered me the most. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's it.
Yeah.
Every,
Yeah, it's just, it's
and,
horrible,
and
but that's the way
Wolfgang
life
said the
goes
best.
sometimes.
He goes, you guys are mourning a loss of a guitar player. He goes, I'm trying to deal with my dad being gone. So you really say any succinctly better than that. So
Exactly.
he is doing good. I like his new stuff. So let me ask you, where are you playing some of that stuff on your album? Is that any of that gear or guitars showing up on the Tokyo album,
All of
especially the
it,
last one?
yeah, man. I mean, I'm always using. I mean, I have a ton of guitars. I mean, I have my D'Angelico acoustic you see behind me. I got my
Mm-hmm.
5150, EVH guitars. I got a Solar guitar with an Evertune bridge that I use a
How was
lot.
that?
The
Good.
Evertune is a game changer in the studio. I mean, it's a guitar that has perfect intonation, and you never
Yeah.
have to tune it. It's a unique thing, and it's like I've been really trying to get all my
That's
friends,
awesome.
especially for a studio tool, making records here.
Yeah.
It's a complete game changer as far as saving time. You don't have to sit there and tune for every note because the intonation is perfect everywhere you play. So it's
That's
really
good.
cool. I'm actually having a custom guitar made right now with
Oh yeah.
another Evertune bridge, but yeah, tons of great guitars. My new FU Tone guitar that I got, I've been
Mm-hmm.
using a lot, and I'm always working, always recording. And I've been blessed during this pandemic that I've had a ton of studio work, mixing and mastering. I'm working on a really great band, this band called Sorrow in the Spine, a new thing that I'm shopping a deal for now. And it's just been, as much as I love and miss performing, I've always been a studio guy. When we made the first Trixter record back in 1989, I completely fell in love with the process of making records, being
Mm-hmm.
in the studio. I was always a songwriter, but writing the songs, being in the studio, learning about engineering, why do you use this certain compressor or this mic or this, and it's just, I got to the point where by the time we did the second Trixter record, I took over as co-producer with Jimbo Barton, who did
Really?
Queensryche and Rush, and it became more important to me than guitar players. I was more interested in Mutt Lange, Bob Rock, Bruce Fairbairn, Mike Shipley than I was about, Warren DeMartini or Jakey Lee or Ed Van Halen for that matter. I was so into what Ted Templeman and Don Landy did to get those sounds and make those records, and I was blessed enough with the success of Trixter that I built this studio that I've been in. I've been in this house with my family for 27, 28 years now, and there's my little daughter Jade coming in. What's up, Jade? Say hi to everybody. This is my little girl Jade. Say hi to everybody. We're on.
Come upstairs, mommy.
I'm doing an interview now. Say hi to everybody. The World Wide Web, Jade Brown. Yeah.
Let's assume. There you go. Introduction. Yeah, I was doing one of them. My dog came in and licked my face, so I'm like, I gotta sit up where you can't.
That's all right. Well,
that's how it goes. It's all good.
I'm the patriarch of the Brown house here, and when my daughter needs me, I have to be here. I think
the most important thing.
That's a bad David Coverdale impression of mine, but
it's all right. It's okay. We're doing correct for those. So how old were you when you started doing a studio? Because because you and I are about the same age. And I actually, like I told you earlier, I went to college for recording too. So just like you, literally, Ted Templeman, all the same things. Actually, Ted had a book out. I don't know if you read his book yet. Ted Templeman released a book like last year.
I've read it. My friend Greg Renoff wrote it with him. So I've read it. I'm probably on the 4th time around, and it's like it never gets old to me.
I love the techniques. It's so great. I love it.
It's really incredible. And the one thing that I don't think Ted gets enough credit for is the fact that if it wasn't for Ted Templeman, I don't think we would have Eruption recorded on record, on vinyl. He was the one who heard Ed warming up in the studio and said, "What is that? Get a mic." He told Don Landy, put up 2 mics, we got to record that. Yeah. And thank God. And Ted is just, an unbelievable, just an incredible producer. The stuff he did with the Doobie Brothers, with Van Morrison. I even loved one of my favorite records that he did was a band Honeymoon Suite that he did in the mid '80s, and I love the song "Love Changes Everything," and I'm looking forward. I'm supposed to sing. Greg Renoff, the author of the book, is supposed to set me up to meet Ted out in L.A. But with the pandemic, it's a little bit hard. But just an unbelievable book, and I'm really hoping that Don Landy eventually writes a book, because Don was so ensconced with Ted and with the Van Halens and making those records. And it was really cool. Some of the great times I had alone with Ed Van Halen, he told me some great inside stories about the makings of the record. And just blessed to be all around it. And it's really cool to see Ted's book, and because I remember Ed telling me his version of the events that went down, and then seeing Ted's kind of version, is really great. But the book, oh my God, I love it. Like I said, I think I'm going on my 4th time reading it. So if that's any indication that it's a good book, it is good. 10 thumbs up.
The fact he was a musician, I think, is what really played into him being such a good producer. His ear.
Of course.
There's one part. Yeah, there's actually a part in the book he talked about when he was recording with Eddie, and when he was talking about, he did some production, him and Don, and he did the rebuilding of the studio. He's building the studio 5150, and that's when he recorded Dweezil Zappa band. And it's funny because I was talking to Dweezil about it. So he actually filled in like the back part of the story too, and I was talking about it too. So it's really neat how everything kind of like overlapped. And I just read the book, and Dweezil hadn't read it, so it's kind of like really neat how everything kind of just fit really nicely.
Yeah, well, they didn't record at 5150. They did Dweezil stuff at Frank Zappa's studio. And that's when Ed went down to Frank Zappa's studio, because Frank had just built his studio, and Ed was building 5150. He wanted to kind of see, and I think they were talking about all the codes and variances and, to get approval. But then, no, Ed went, they did, I believe it was My Mother's a Space Cadet and Crunchy Water.
Yeah.
That they did, and they recorded that at Frank Zappa's studio.
Really? I thought it was Ed's, because they were testing it out. They used Ed's studio as a test place.
I don't think so. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
I have somewhere. I still have that 45 of the Dweezil's album. My Mother, Dweezil and
awesome.
Moon. It was cool. Dweezil had that flying V with all different colored polka dots on it. It was like a Randy Rhoads, but white with all fluorescent. It was cool. Really beautiful guitar.
He's great. He's a good guitar player too. So you're doing production a lot. You're on a hiatus. Obviously, everyone's from playing.
Yes,
You're in a couple different bands though. Well,
I am.
what do you call so you call it Trixter, but it's not really Trixter. I know sometimes you build you and PJ when you guys get with Eric Martin.
Yeah.
You guys are like a comedy troupe. You guys should really just put the guitars down and do like a comedy tour because it clips on YouTube. I can imagine what isn't on YouTube. It's got to be even hellaciously funnier. But you three together are so funny.
It's incredible. Yeah, Eric's he's like a brother to us. We met Eric back on the Warren Trixter Firehouse tour in 1991, and we were, Pete, our singer especially, we were obsessed with the Mr. Big Lean Into It record. And all I can say is, we played that record probably for 6 months straight, every day on the tour bus. We knew every vocal line, every guitar lick, every bass lick, every drum. And so we invited Eric out to when we played up in San Jose, and we just hit it off immediately. Like I've always said, and I say it to him all the time, I say, dude, you've always been like one of us. It's funny because he was born in Long Island, so he's got sort of,
Was he?
though he's lived out in, Northern California most of his life, he's from, New York, Long Island. He was born. So he has that East Coast sort of sense of humor, and we just get on so good. And what's funny is we have a text group, and we have, with Chris Jericho, who's another brother, and Joey Casada. We all play together. It's called the Gig.
Yeah.
So we're threatening to actually start a band with it. So I don't know. Joey Casada is going to be here at the studio on Sunday. We're cutting some drum tracks. So, I'm betting we might be cutting one of the first Gig Pigs songs.
That'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, we have a blast together, but Eric is great. Yeah, we go out and we do a Mr. Big Trixter kind of best of show. Eric Martin and the Dirty Trixters or whatever, however Eric wants to do it. Hey man, this is Eric Martin from Mr. Big, and I got my knucklehead brother Stephen PJ from Trixter behind me, and the Italian Stallion on drums, Joey Casada. Eric's a handful, man. We love him to death, and it's a blast. And all I can say is, yeah, that's my thing over the last couple of years. I just, being a one-band guy for so long, and even after Trixter, I would go from project to project, but it was always kind of one band. And then I'm going to say over the last 12 years, I've really ventured out to where, of course we know about the Def Leppard situation and doing that, and then with the same thing with
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I've become like the fill-in guy. Somebody, it's like I have a red phone upstairs, and when it's like in Batman when you call Commissioner Gordon, the red phone lights up. Uh-oh, a band needs a guitar player that can sing, play cool, look cool, and learn 16 songs in 2 days and be on a plane to, 20 miles east of Bing Bang, within minutes. And, that's one thing. But under my pool table that's back there, I always have a suitcase packed. I have outside in my garage, I always have my gig bag ready, and, I'm always ready to go. So it's just one of those things over the last, let's say, 10 years, that's kind of become my calling card, playing with everybody. Joe Lynn Turner, Danger, Rock of Ages on Broadway, Dennis DeYoung of Styx, Def Leppard. And then there are, a bunch of other bands that have called me to fill in, big bands as well, that, there was some problems with the band, sickness or internal issues. And, hey man, I'm not sure if we're going to need you, but it's pretty cool to have that kind of notoriety and be able to do that. And most of all, it comes down to everybody that calls me. Most of these people are my friends, so they're like family, especially Def Leppard and Dennis DeYoung. They're anything to help out my friends. They're like family members. If somebody calls you in your family and says, dude, I'm in a bind here, I need you, I'm like, dude, I'm there. I do it for any of my family members or my friends. I do it for any rock band. The only difference is the pay's a lot better with the big rock band.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it does. Well, the difference is, like, I think when you first started, when you're doing Trixter and things start changing, I mean, it's got to be almost like having like a job security to know you're not like in this one job, things go bad. Everything, all your eggs are in one basket. Like when you first started, you were probably like, I can do all this stuff. I can keep going. One band is not going to stop me. One issue is somebody's not going to stop me. I can put it aside and we can go back to it again. But I'm not stopping. I'm doing music, and that had to be like liberating. And then the more you do, you feed off of it.
Well, I think it's when I started playing guitar in 1978, and it was, and I say this all the time, I sold my soul to rock and roll, and I'm still running with the devil, 42 years later now. This is what I do, whether I was successful or not. Music guitar playing, rock and roll, Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, Kiss, Cheap Trick. These bands are part of my being. This is what I do, whether it's playing stadiums or playing clubs, doing studio work, giving lessons, teaching somebody Pro Tools, teaching somebody how to edit drums. I love all of it, all facets. Doing interviews with kooky guys like you, that's a joke.
I get that.
But it's all encompassing. And, the cool thing is that what I did learn in the mid 90s when, the whole 80s hard rock, the rise and fall of all of our bands, whether even the biggest, the Def Leppards and the Bon Jovis, just like the Trixters, the Firehouse, the Warrants, Poison, Slaughter. Certain people went off and got jobs and became, normal people of society, as I like to say. And that's a great thing. They joined the general population. That was never for me, and that was never for PJ as well. We continued on with music. So, and the one thing that I learned is that you can't rely on one thing in the music business to be successful, or let's say to earn a living, to be able to live. So I learned really early, luckily in my early 20s, that you have to be like an octopus. You have to have 8 arms, and you have to have multiple income streams. And you have to be able, because at one point or another, one thing of your business is going to crash. And so you have to have something to fall back on besides some money in the bank. And luckily I had that as well. So, man, I've been so blessed 30 years into this national career that, all the dreams have come true so many times over, and they're still happening. But the core of it all is my love for music. I didn't get into this for money. I didn't get into this for girls. I didn't get into it for the glory. I got into it for the love of the music and for the love of rock and roll. It was like when I was a little kid, I said to myself, I'm going to be Eddie Van Halen. I'm going to be a mini version of. He was my guy. Van Halen was the band when I started Trixter. My first concert was Kiss. I saw Kiss. They were my favorite band, Kiss and Van Halen. 1978, I saw Kiss in 79. It was unbelievable, the Dynasty tour. But it was unreal. Kiss was like superheroes. I didn't even think they were human beings at that point. You know what I mean?
Makeup and the shoes and the light.
Yeah. But when I saw Van Halen in 1982 on the Diver Down tour at Madison Square Garden, it was that party atmosphere, fun, everybody having such a great time. And I knew at that moment, I said, I'm starting a band and it's going to be fun like Van Halen. And that's always been my, thing. And, for better or worse, that's kind of how I modeled Trixter. It was always about, it was definitely apparent in my, performance and stuff.
It's in the videos, it really showed you guys were laid back and really, because you guys are very relatable in the videos.
Yeah, and that's what it was. We wanted to be fun, and and that's what I think people picked up on with Trixters, that we were real and it was honest. We weren't wearing, we were much different than anything that came out at that time. But it's rooted, again, like I said, it's rooted in the love of music, and it's still the same thing. And I'm working on a record right now for this band that I'm producing. And, I get paid to do this. I get paid very well. It's not, I'm not getting paid Mutt Lang money, you know what I mean? But I get paid, a lot good money to make, produce records and stuff. And in my house, it's a great thing. But the amount, when it's all said and done, the amount of hours I put in, whether it's my music or somebody else's, I mixed a couple songs for PJ's new record. I spend so much time on that. At the end of it, when it's all said and done, I lose money if you were to put it in an hourly or break it down. And if you broke it down hourly, I'm working for less than minimum wage. And it's not about that, because I'm blessed in the sense money is not what drives me. My house is paid for. Life is good. You know what I mean? I do it because I want the best for...
It doesn't feel like you have work. It feels like you have a lot of stuff to do.
I want to do it because I love it. I love the art of it. And that's where the true artist comes out, in the sense of where if somebody hires me, and I tell you that, I tell everybody right from the beginning, you hire me, you're going to get 1,000%. You're not going to get 100%. You get 1,000% out of me. And that's always kind of what I've tried to do. And I think it's served me well in my career and my personal life as well.
you brought up someone named there, Dennis DeYoung, and you actually have him on your album too.
Yes, Dennis was gracious enough to play a phenomenal Oberheim OB8 solo on the new Tokyo Motor Fist record, Lions, on probably one of the best songs that I've ever written in my life, and probably the best record I've ever made in my career. So it was an honor, and Dennis, like I told you, Dennis has become such a dear friend over the last 5 or 6 years that, you know, we've been in each other's lives. And, you know, I started out with him in 2015 to help him out when August Zadra, the great August Zadra, couldn't make a show. And Dennis and I hit it off, and we talk all the time. And he's just one of these guys that, again, you know, like Ed Van Halen, just such a humble, normal, fun guy. But a phenomenal musician, and was cool enough to say, hey man, I really like this song. I think it's a great song, and I'm going to play a solo on it. And he played, you know, the keyboard solo on Lines, he played it with his original Oberheim OB8, the same keyboard that Eddie played Jump on. It was the same one from back in the late 70s that he used on tour with Styx. And when we recorded it, Greg Smith and I were over at his house. I was on the Wizards of Winter tour that I did last year, kind of a mini TSO thing. And we went to Dennis's house in Chicago. We had a couple days off. And we brought the Oberheim in, and I see the duct tape on it. It's got, like, you know, it's got masking tape, and it's got Too Much Time. It's got Snowblind. It's got Fooling Yourself. All the presets that he used for the Styx songs live. And he was like showing us. He go, oh, you want to hear that sound? You want to hear the beginning of Too Much Time on My Hands? Bum, 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 bum. There it is. And it's a mono keyboard, and it's just the most incredible sound. So really, really just, you know, again, one of these things where, like, you know, I still pinch myself.
It sounds really good too. It really fits well in the song. It's. I was actually just listening to it again, and actually I like the song placement. I could say, and then when you go from that song, you go right into Decadence on 10th Street, right?
Oh yeah.
The guitar on that is ridiculously crazy. I love it.
It's, you know, a big salute and nod to Ed Van Halen. You know, I mean, that's obvious, but that's a fun
the tone
one.
on that, the riff.
Yeah.
It just feels like you're just. It's just explosive. It's just, I don't know. It's hopping all the place. It's fantastic. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite. The whole record. I mean, you know, again, man, the best part about this is that 30 years of making records. You know, I still, no matter what, when I do sign up, and, you know, thanks to Frontiers, our record label, for the opportunity to make these records. You know, I made 2 great records for Frontiers with Trixter, New Audio Machine, and Human Era. And now we're on our 2nd Tokyo Motor Fist record. And it's, you know, again, at 50 years old, to be making and playing and singing the best music of your career there's something to be said about that. And I'm really, really proud of it. And, you know, again, it shows the difference between somebody who's just phoning it in and somebody who truly lives, eats, and breathes music.
I didn't realize all the production work you did. Like, I started digging into more. I knew all the guitar stuff you're doing, but like listening to the new album, basically said we'll just go for production, and we're like literally the same age. I'm 50. I always listen to production, and production can ruin. There are some bands I love that their albums are just so horrible because of the production.
Oh yeah.
And it happened a lot during the 80s and 90s, especially. But first thing I listened to, so I'm listening to production on the newest Tokyo one. I'm like, it's so good. It has such a good rock sound. The guitars, it's balanced, and I'm very critical too, you know. And it's good. It's the drums. The drums is the first thing I'm so picky about drums, the kick, the snare. It just, I mean, hear it in your headphones, good, you know.
It's again, it's all encompassing for me, you know, from I design the artwork, from the artwork to every aspect of it is, and again, I do it out of love, you know. I'm a little bit of a control freak, and I need to have that, you know, I need to have my hands in everything, but it's because I've learned that if you don't control your own situation, somebody's going to wind up screwing something up, and it's never a pleasant thing. So at least if I know that I'm involved and it bombs, or something happens where there's a mistake, at least I can go, you know what, it was my fault. I can always man up to that and own up to it. But, you know, the mixing of the Tokyo Motorfest record, I got to give big shout out to Bruno Ravel, the great Bruno Ravel from Danger Danger. Him and I mixed the record. He was the mix engineer and came up with, this unbelievable low end to really give the great support to mine and Ted's vocals and the guitars, and Greg Smith on bass. So, Ted Poley on vocals, Greg Smith on bass, and the great Chuck Berge on drums. It's just a phenomenal band. And, the really cool thing about Tokyo Motorfest is that, unlike a lot of these frontiers super groups that they put together, these projects, Tokyo TMF is a real band. It's a real brotherhood. We all grew up together, and we all get along great. And, Chuck lives, one town over from me. He's 8 miles away from me here in northern New Jersey. Ted is, just down the road about an hour and a half in Pennsylvania, as well as Greg Smith. So we're all close to each other. And we're one of the few bands of all these, super groups that actually play gigs.
I was going to ask you if you played it at all.
Yeah.
It sounds really good. I mean, Ted sounds phenomenal too. Not that he's bad, but I'm saying, as you get older, it gets harder to be a singer. And I was just saying this the other day. The vocals are like, I was like, damn, I really shouldn't have wrote the lyric so high key in the song because everyone's tuning down. If only I'd known when I was so young and I could sing. Everyone's tuning down. But yeah, Ted sounds spot on.
Yeah, he's great, man. And again, the way we make the records, where we record here at my house, and some of the guys do some of their stuff, some of the things at their house and stuff. But Ted comes here, and I really coach him. Vocal production is definitely one of my strongest suits. As far as that, to me, that's always been such a strong part of my production work, is focusing first and foremost on the vocal, because in my opinion, if the vocal's not good, no matter how good the song is, it's never going to get the attention it deserves. So you really always have to focus on the vocals.
Yes. How did you get affiliated with being the last minute guy? I mean, with Def Leppard, like jumping at the last minute to learn that many songs. I'm assuming by now you have all the songs down probably. So like if it happens, you're like, I'm not going through that again. I don't have the nerves for it. I just learned them all, so now I just know and I'm ready. But like, how did you end up the first time to hop into that in a clinch situation like that? I mean, that's.
Well, it goes back. I've known the Def Leppard guys and the organization for 30 plus years. I met them, Phil and Joe. The first time I met them was like '87 on the first go round of the Hysteria tour. I think when Tesla was opening up. I mean, that's how long I've known the Tesla guys as well. Phil Collin and I became immediate friends back in, '87, '88. And he's been like a godfather to me, big brother. He's my British brother, and he's been such a supporter of me with all of my post-Trixter projects, most notably 40 Foot Ringo, where Joe and him were huge fans of the band 40 Foot Ringo that I had with PJ. And we were supposed to open one of the Def Leppard tours. I believe it was the 2001 tour that they did, which I think was the X tour. And it didn't work out because we didn't have tour support, and there wasn't enough money. So it didn't work out. But Joe and Phil especially always loved the sound of my voice, the raspy, sort of thing that I would do, and so what happened was when Vivian got diagnosed with cancer in 2013, Phil was like, I got the guy, and he told the guy, he told Joe and, the other guy, Steve, and I've known them for, 25, 30 years, and they were was like, all right. So, but it was interesting when Phil and I in 2012 is what really kind of sealed the deal. Phil and I were on the Mike Huckabee show on Fox News. I don't know if you remember that, but we did this thing where, Mike had a show on Fox, and he would play he's a bass player. So he brought Phil on to talk about. Phil was really, promoting health and wellness and sort of kind of demystifying the rock star personality of, the booze and the, drugs and wild and eating junk food. And Phil is a health nut, as I am as well, and being healthy and working out and being in great shape and being the best you could possibly be. So we did the show. Phil calls me up and says, Steve, would you want to do this with me? I need backing. We're going to do kind of a different version of Pour Some Sugar on Me. So I'm like, of course, man, whatever you need. So went in and did the show, and I was singing along with Phil, doing all the pour some sugar on me, that. And Phil called me, after he saw the broadcast, and he's like, I couldn't believe how great our voices blended together. And that was for him, I think, the moment where he said, if there's ever a problem with Vivian, Steve's the perfect guy. And it was like a year later, a little less than a year later, is when he called me and said, this is what's going on and we need you. And that's 2013 is when the sort of the Def Leppard journey began for me, as being there, kind of secret weapon and somebody to step in at a moment's notice to save the day, if you will.
I think they need to do like Iron Maiden and just have 3 guitar players and always have you.
Yeah, it's been there was talked about, but
I know. I seriously, I think it's great. I think how cool is it? Like clearly, like you're the same age, like so Def Leppard, your friends Eddie Van Halen, like everything as a child that you could have possibly thought of. You probably couldn't even think of this as a child. If someone told you, you'd be like, get out of here. There's no way. It's just it's insane.
Yeah, it really is, and it never gets lost on me. And I say this all the time. I truly am one of the luckiest guys in the world. All of my rock star experiences, and whether it's Gene and Paul from Kiss, Dennis DeYoung, Def Leppard, the Van Halen stories. I mean, that's a movie and book in itself. And I'm probably I'm a ways away, but at some point I'm definitely going to do some sort of documentary book thing and really document that, because some of the stories are just mind-blowing, and again, like I said, the Eddie Van Halen stories alone, I could write 2 books on the things that I've done with him. And to be in a room and to be friends with somebody and you're close enough with them to where they call your house phone and you sit there at 2 o'clock in the morning, oh shit, Ed Van Halen's calling, and you sit there and I'm sitting in my pajamas, he's in his hotel room, and we're just talking about life, talking about our families, and it's mind-blowing. But there are so many of those, meeting David Lee Roth when we were making the first Trixter record, jumping on stage with Van Halen in 1988 at Madison Square Garden. It never ends. It's really, again, it's a rock and roll fantasy.
So that's the same place you saw them like 6 years later?
Yeah. I mean, it was
that's insane. That's actually such a short period of time.
Yeah, and that one, I've documented, I've told that in numerous interviews, and you could see the YouTube clip of that. That's all over the place. And what was really great about that story was the ending of it was in 91 when I first met Ed and we hit it off and became friends. So a couple months, I sent Ed a gold record when Trixter went gold, and I wrote him a really nice letter, and basically the end of it said, without you and your music, I would have never been who I am, and I never would have had this success without you. And I sent him a gold record, and a couple months later I was at, one of the shows with him, and I'm backstage, me and him in his tuning room. And he, gave me a big hug and a kiss, and he goes, man, I just wanted to tell you. He goes, man, thanks for the gold record. That was cool. He goes, but what you wrote meant more to me than anything. And that just goes to show you again the heart and soul that he was. Such a warm guy and appreciative. And for me, it was just being honest, and telling him exactly what it was, because without him, I would be nothing, And so getting back to the garden story. So we're backstage, Ed's warming up, then Sammy comes in, and it's the 3 of us, and and Sam goes, oh man, I know you, and blah blah, yeah, Trixter, blah blah blah, and Ed goes, yeah man, he goes, but don't you remember him from 3 years ago on the OU 812 tour? He's the kid who jumped up on stage and started playing my guitar. And Sammy looks at me and smiles. He goes, oh, bun of a sitch, because that was their thing, that they would do that, instead of son of a bitch, bun of a sitch. And he goes, bun of a sitch. He goes, that was you? And, here I am, a couple years later, #1 on MTV, hanging out in, Van Halen's dressing room. And, so it was really cool. We got a good laugh about that, many years later.
It's so unbelievable, the stories, the luck you've had. And I mean, you have talent, so it's not like you didn't get there by whatever, by not having a talent, but the luck that everything kind of fell into place too. Serendipity. It's a little of both.
It is, man. Well, God has a great way of making things happen. And, I truly believe that I was put on this earth to do all of this and to be able to tell this. Again, like I said, man, a lot of people, they like to make music and play live, but they don't like doing interviews or they don't like making videos. I love every aspect of it, even the boring stuff when I got to do my taxes for my, Brownstone Music, my company. Even that, I still go, you know what, man, I'm lucky enough to have a music
Taxes, yeah.
corporation, and I get corporate benefits. When I go get gas and use my Brownstone Music card, I say to the guy, I need a receipt because I'm writing this off. Uncle Sam's gonna grant me a write-off on this one.
You sound like a madman. So you have been busy and you're doing production. So can people reach out to you for production?
Yeah, of course, man. Send me an email. You go on my Instagram or you can find me. My email.
You have on your website too. On your website, you have a link.
Yeah.
An email for that too. So I don't know if you're accepting people.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's limited, and it's got to be. Ultimately, I have to believe in the project. I don't take on anything that I don't think.
Right, but I mean, you say like a doctor, you're taking on patients. You are open to
Yeah, of course, man. I give Skype guitar lessons, songwriting, whatever, man. Whatever it is, I do like VIP. Like instead of doing an interview, a fan will contact me. Hey, man, can I talk to you for a half hour? I do stuff like that. So again, but it's all part of being a professional musician, and luckily I like all of this, Well, so consider yourself lucky.
I do consider myself lucky. About this or what? Just in general?
Yeah, well, always, yes. But I'm talking about that we're doing this interview because I actually I like to do these things.
Well, I do. I consider myself lucky. I like doing it too. Lucky. Works out well.
I can tell, dude. I love it, man.
I just wanted to say that the whole production point, because that's one of the big things with the show, is so people know, reach out to the artists right now during COVID. They're doing other stuff. So I want people to be aware that you're doing all this stuff too. I don't think a lot of people know that,
Yeah.
So that's one thing. I mean, I know some artists need it more than others, and clearly you're doing pretty good. What about work coming out? As I mentioned before with Eric, are you guys going to do an album with Eric?
We've talked about it. You'd have to ask Eric. PJ and I and Joey.
I gotta track him down at some point because the chemistry behind you guys,
yes,
I think would be fantastic for an album.
I'll give you a little bit of a tidbit of information. So January of 2019, PJ and I were on a mission that we were gonna get Eric to do a record with us, and he sort of said, nah, let me hear what you got. The first two things that I wrote that were supposed to be for Eric Martin, Trixter, Steve, PJ, Joey, Eric, were Youngblood and Decadence on 10th Street.
No.
Which wound up going to Tokyo Motor Fest because Eric basically didn't show. He basically said he had a bunch of other things going on. So, and I was like, all right. And once I finished Youngblood, I'm like, I have the new Tokyo Motor Fest record right here, and that was it. So those were the first two songs that I wrote for Lions for the Tokyo Motor Fest record, but they were actually supposed to be for whatever this Eric Martin. Steve Brown, PJ.
It'll happen. It's got to happen.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
We bust Eric's balls enough about it, so hopefully it will. Hopefully he'll just do it to shut us up.
To shut you guys up. I'll give him a hard time when I track him down at some point.
Yeah.
What's Pete doing from Trixter? Because you guys are so big. What is he doing in his downtime?
I don't really know, man. He's working a day gig. I think he's in the car business or something. Honestly, man, I really don't know. We kind of, when he kind of stepped away from the Trixter thing in 2017, let's just say it wasn't the most pleasant of situations. He had to get away for personal reasons and family reasons, and part of the family was this family, the Trixter family. It was a little too much for him to deal with, and there's no bad blood there. We're all cool, and but I don't know what he's doing. We text each other for goofy jokes and stuff like that, but we don't talk about anything other than how you doing, how's your family, Merry Christmas, hope you're well.
See, like from the outside, it just seemed like obviously there's an issue with the drumming issue, the drummer. But I figured just Pete kind of just bowed out because like a lot of people just like, you know what, family, take a time.
Yeah.
Pictures kind of in the back burner. I figured that's kind of with that situation. Kind of, yeah, could do something else for a while, take a break,
That's not me. It's not for me to answer, but
No, I didn't know. I didn't know. I wasn't trying to go there. I just meant like, yeah, he's with his family because he's enjoying. You know what I mean? It wasn't like more of an antidote, more of a chilling thing. I wasn't looking for any dirt. So Tokyo, I mean, you have one out now. What are you going to try promoting it once the pandemic's over?
Yeah, I
The
mean,
album
we,
comes out?
we certainly. I mean, we had a couple dates booked, some festivals, and we were actually negotiating with some of the Japanese promoters to go do a Japanese tour, which would have been, kind of the cherry on top of this whole thing because we'd come back with the T-shirt "Tokyo Motor Fest live in Tokyo."
Tokyo. Oh, that's
So, but yeah, everything's on hold right now. Probably 2022. I mean, I foresee my vision for 2021 is there's going to be a minimal amount of things. I've done some shows with my 80s band that I play in, this band Rubik's Cube that PJ and I are in, and we've done some socially distant things, but I don't see any of the big rock shows coming back. There's going to be smaller events that I might be part of. I know Eric and PJ are going out and doing some acoustic shows. But
the bigger kits, the harder it's got to be. I mean, I know I'm sitting on tickets for that stadium tour it's gonna be, I don't know, I'll be an old man, I'm gonna get a wheelchair pass or something by the time.
Yeah, man, I wish I could tell you something. I know nothing.
No, I don't expect you. No one knows. No one literally knows except for Live Nation because they're sitting on all the money.
Yeah.
Everyone else just doesn't know. But I'm saying, yeah, something big like that's gonna be the last one in because how do you control a crowd? Everyone's got to be safe. But you can do smaller things. You can break up a club a little bit. You can start to kind of maneuver it. There's protocols you can do. Other bands are going out doing it. You can't do a stadium.
Yeah, I mean, look, from what I know, and certain guys, that'll remain nameless, big rock stars have said, I have no interest in playing an arena with 10% of the people there. They open up Madison Square Garden for like basketball games. You can go see the Knicks play, but they're only allowing 1,000 people in. I don't think Billy Joel's going to play the Garden to 1,000 people.
But basketball energy, but it's not the same as. It's a performance. It's also a game. Like you can play basketball by yourself, and it still counts as a game.
Yeah.
When you play yourself with a band, it's band practice. It's not actually a show. There is a slight difference.
I know. So yeah, I mean, look, man.
Why would you want to have a stadium and only have a partial crowd? That's not the goal of a stadium. A stadium is the biggest thing you can do as a band.
Yeah.
So
I think for the fans, I think sadly there's a lot of false hope out there, and but it's not my place to answer. All I can say is my opinion on it, and I don't foresee that by the summertime or any time in the next 8 months that you're going to see 20,000 people or 50,000 people in an arena or a stadium to see a rock show or anything for that matter. So
listen to Fauci. Fauci says the same thing. So 2022 is before things are going to start getting more normal. And
I believe so. So whatever. And for the key is just to stay positive and be for the fans. The key is to stay engaged with the bands that you love and help, especially the smaller bands. Buy some merchandise. Buy the CDs. I got a online shirt store for Trixter and some of my own stuff. And the fans.
Send me your links. All your links.
Yeah, it's all up there, man. But that's the key of it all. And if you're lucky enough wherever you live to have a show come in your area, whether it's Trixter and Eric Martin or Eric Martin and PJ Farley, go see it. If it's Striper, if it's Tesla, anybody who can do something that's with these shows that are put on that are socially distant and to the CDC guidelines, go see it, go support it. You're probably not going to be able to stand up and go crazy and sing, but you go and you support your bands like fans have always done. You support the bands that you love, no matter through thick and thin. That's my attitude.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I mean, that's why I did the show. That's what it's all about. So,
yeah,
bringing notice to you guys and putting all your stuff up. That's why I do it. So I'll put all your links will go underneath on YouTube, and eventually it goes up on the podcast too. I'm a little behind on that. All the links will go right underneath just for all your stuff.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it for sure.
It's been awesome, man. Hopefully you'll come back again when you got some other stuff to promote. You know, you can reach out, let me know. And
Oh, without a doubt. And it was a, pleasure talking to you. And I'm sorry for my daughter crashing the party, but yeah,
oh,
there's
it's
no
real
control.
life. It's awesome. I think it's great.
It is, man. So all the best to you, everybody, all your viewers and listeners. This is Steve Brown reporting from the Mojo Vegas Recording Company, aka 6160. Ed Van Halen at 5150. I got 6160. And so all is good, everybody. Wear your mask, do your thing, get your vaccines, and let's pray and hope that we get back to a new normal, because it's never going to be like it was. It's all going to be new, but I believe in my heart of hearts that we are all going to be better for going through this. Everything's going to turn out better than we could ever imagine.
In 3 months after, everyone's going to forget all about what happened and just going to be rude again. And
I don't know about that. I don't know
Come
about
on.
that, but let's
I'm
I'm really looking forward to, the time when everybody just thinks everybody's healthy and this virus is under control, and we're at an outdoor festival where there's 100,000 people, everybody going nuts for rock and roll, and I'm jumping around playing my, Van Halen guitars and going nuts, and everybody smiling, and it gives you that feeling like, we all got back in like 1984, if you know what I mean.
I do. That's awesome.